One of the themes of SEMA is always extreme craftsmanship, and I've got quite a craftsman here. This is Jason Hill from Hill's Hot Rods, and this 62 Impala is just absolutely spectacular. I understand that this kind of started out as an orphan in your shop.
It did. I came across this car by default from a customer that was no longer going to finish and asked if I'd be willing to do some bartering to end up with this car, so that's how I ended up with it.
Well, it's got an LS now, but it was originally a big block car, right?
It was, for the customer, it was a 502 big block car, and I'm not the biggest fan of those any longer. I like the reliability and the efficiency of an LS, so I went a different direction.
So you've got an LS3 in it now. What are some of the details of that engine?
Biggest details are it's a stroked motor. It's a 416 cubic inch motor with some head work by Texas Speed and Performance, and cam change, of course, and putting out in the area of 550 horsepower. We'll find out when we get back to the dyno.
Now, I was going to say, that hasn't been on the dyno yet, because this was kind of right up to the wire here for SEMA.
Isn't it always? I think SEMA Crunch has its name, and everyone knows what that means, and we're no different.
But it does drive, though, right?
It does drive. We drove it in here. It's probably been 10 or 20 miles since the finish to get into here, but that's it.
Now, the interior is beautiful. The outside shows a lot of attention to detail. What's your favorite detail on this car?
My favorite detail is probably the red exterior. I'm a red fan. Anyone that knows me knows that many times we're going to end up with red on the car, and I like red, and being a painter, that's always got to be my favorite.
Now, I really like the way the tail light's being used as a trunk release on this car.
Neat little trick. We wanted to make sure it was mechanical so we could still get into the trunk if there was a failure of a voltage problem. So that's where that came from.
Well, it's a fantastic showpiece for the work your shop does. About how many cars do you do in an average year?
Complete builds along this line, we normally try to target 25 average cars per year out the door.
It's got to be hard to find craftsmen who can work at this level and really maintain the kind of quality that you want out of cars like this.
It is very difficult, especially in our location. Probably one of the hardest things of my job is that finding young people that can take this craftsmanship and run with it over time and become the next builders like we've become now.
Well, now, if people have missed this here at SEMA, you've got a couple more stops coming up here, places where they can actually see this car in person, right?
Yes, we're going to do the SEMA Ignited show tonight, and I think that's a neat deal because people who necessarily couldn't get into SEMA can go to that and see all the cars that were involved in the SEMA show. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to go to Scottsdale to the Good Guys show to finish up our year as show-wise.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. For Power Automedia, I'm Paul Huizinga. Keep it right here for all your 2015 SEMA coverage.